I went to see a movie today, and when we got there, we were the first ones in the theater. Now, that's usually true because I like to get to a movie really early. That way I can get that first row of seats in the second tier that has the railing in front of it, because I like to be able, if I got to go to the bathroom, to just crawl over the rail and not have to scoot around people, because sometimes I got to go twice because I drink a big soda and I'm old, so I got to go to the bathroom a lot. Well, when I walked into the theater, I noticed in one of the back emergency exits, I could see a sliver of light. So I just walked over there to see if the door was open, and it was. It wasn't propped open with anything, so I'm not saying, oh, someone propped the door open, someone was up to no good. Nope, I'd be willing to bet some of the people that were in the previous movie just left through there. It didn't shut completely. So I just gave it a little push open, pulled it shut fine, went back, sat down, and watched our movie. Now, as I was watching my movie, I started to think about this, and I decided I was going to speak to the manager afterwards. Well, the real reason I was speaking to the manager is because I had bought a large popcorn, and when I went out to get a refill, there's a line a half-mile long because the people working the counter can't manage to shovel popcorn into a bucket and hand it to people without taking 15 minutes to do so. But I also spoke to the manager about the door, and I mentioned, the fact that the door was open when we got there, and I said, don't you have someone that checks these, because we had the theater shooting in the past, so I would think it'd be a good idea security-wise to make sure these doors were closed. And he said, well, the ushers always check those doors during a movie. And he was right. The usher did come in and check the door about an hour into the movie. So I did say, yes, I did see a guy come in with a flashlight. He went to both doors and checked them. They were both closed, but that was, like I said, a good hour into the movie. That was an hour people were vulnerable if someone was trying something. That's when I asked him, don't you all have some sort of system that just says, door 1 and theater 6 is ajar? And he said, no, they don't have that. And I said, well, why not? And he said, well, even if we had it, we'd have to pay somebody to watch it, and that's not in our budget to pay somebody to sit around and watch security systems. Well, that conversation didn't go much further than that, but as I continued to think about it for the rest of the day, I got a little bit angry, because it seems like these days you hear more and more people saying things like, well, that's just too expensive, every time you talk about something that would really make people safer. When we talk about putting a security system on that door and having someone man it, oh, that would cost the wrong people money, we can't do that. When we talk about schools being more secure, paying for security, people are like, oh, that would cost money, we can't do that. When you talk about insurances being required to cover more mental health issues, to provide better counseling for people, people are like, oh, that costs insurance companies money and they'd raise rates, can't do that. When we talk about the fact that better education and better opportunities would be less crime, people are like, oh yeah, but that's so costly. We can't do that. That would cost the wrong people money. They'd have to pay taxes, or corporations would have to pay for that. And oh, we don't want that to happen. And they'd just funnel the cost down to us. Well, for one, they can only funnel the cost down to you if you let them. You as a people have a right to say, hey, we're not paying the extra cost. If you try to pay the extra cost, we're going to kick you out of our state. We've got that right. That's our rights as a citizen. So I don't understand why people think they just have to roll over for big money and big corporations and take it like a fat girl on prom night. I just never have understood that. I don't know why people believe that. But what really bothers me is people that really want this kind of safety, but then they start talking about it in dollars. They quantify safety in dollars. They quantify human life in dollars. And they say, well, we can't do it. It's too expensive. But, I bet it really wouldn't be that expensive if we really looked at it. I bet it would be a tiny percentage of what we spend on worthless crap already anyway. But these same people that worry about how much it costs in dollars don't worry at all about what it costs in personal freedoms, because they're more than willing to turn around and take the freedoms away from everyday citizens in a way that won't help stop crime, but they think the cost is justified if all it costs is the rights of the common man. And politicians are the worst. They're more than okay with whittling away mine and your constitutional rights as long as it doesn't cost a nickel to their corporate masters, the people that line their pockets, pay for their election campaigns, and give them cushy consulting jobs once they're out of office. Now, I know freedom is dangerous, and just having a free people means there's always going to be risk. But there are some things we can do to make us safer. You wear a helmet because it makes you safer. So there are some steps you can take that are reasonable, that would not hurt anyone, that could make us all safer. Unfortunately, they cost money. So instead, we have a certain group of people that are placating the population by saying we're doing something, but all they're really doing is removing the rights and liberties of citizens without really solving any of the problems and not making anybody one lick safer. So basically what I guess I'm trying to say in this aimless rant tonight is I am so sick of people saying, oh, it costs too much every time there's something we could really do that would make people safer, but they're more than willing to surrender freedom and liberty. I hate to break it to them, but money comes and goes. And plus, if we start spending money on things to make us safer and it doesn't make us safer, we can stop spending the money. Once you surrender your liberties, you seldom get them back. So if you're sick of hearing people talk about this in a way that says, well, the things that we could do that would actually help would cost money, so we can't do them, but they're more than willing to pay with their own personal liberties and your personal liberties, tell them, this argument to you might be about money, but to me, it's about freedom. And one of those things is much more valuable and harder to come by than the other.